Just buy usually meeting. Oh, just like that. Maybe 10 crowd. Yo, anybody think the guy trying to some people are like, guys will be cold, dude. And so on the snare. And so same thing. Good day, thank you. Are you guys there? I'm Jesus. Ah, no, I see. This thing called Smolanyana fever, that one that wanted to kill us last time. That thing is tiring like nobody. That thing's the problem. When it gets you, your joints and everything becomes headache. Gets you. But there's this thing I trust called Med Lemon. See? Oh, Med Lemon. Yeah, that I trust. You wanna sweat? Yeah, you sweat so much. Sharp. Yeah. That one I trust. Yeah, I know that the doctors recommended the Bones guy. Okay, sir. Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's economics lesson. My name is Letiane LG, and this lesson is brought to you by the Free State Department of Education in association with Phakama Research and Development Program. Right, our topic today, we still continue with dynamics of markets. Wherever you are, you'll remember that last week we talked to monopoly, and then we also looked at calculations of the AR, calculations of the MR, the TR, the MC, the AC, as well as the TC. And then we also looked at some graphs that we looked at. And now today we're going to be focusing on the two types of monopolies. And we're also going to be looking at oligopoly in detail, as also we are preparing for our June examination. As you know, I hope wherever that you are sitting, colleagues, let's ensure that they do have the books where they are taking the notes that will be done today. Their pen and pencil is very important. A ruler and eraser, you know that paper 2 is all about calculations as well as drawings. So the ruler, the pencil, as well as the calculator will also be the resources that are needed so that we don't waste time borrowing from other learners. And from the pre-knowledge, we said we could have done this market structure that is known as a perfect market. We would have done the competition policies. And today, these competition policies are going to help us because you remember that we've got the Competition Commission, the Competition Tribunal, and the Competition appeal court. And then today's lesson, we're going to be now applying them in some of the lessons. You might have also done the calculations in terms of profit or loss under the perfect market. The calculations of TR we've done last week, we know that TR is calculated as the price multiplied by the quantity, which is P multiplied by Q. And TC is calculated in two ways. The first one, it is the cost of the price or the cost of the product multiplied by the quantity of the product, or alternatively, total cost is calculated by adding the fixed cost and the variable cost, and then we get the total cost. Then we also calculated AR. As you remember that it is very important for us to write the formula thereof. We remember that we said the average revenue is derived by total revenue, which is TR, divided by the quantity. It's a revision, grade 12 learners, of our last week's work. And then AC, it is calculated the same way as we calculate TR. We said now the AC, which is the average cost, it is the total cost divided by the quantity, TC divided by Q. Then also we calculated the MR, of which now we said it is the change in TR divided by the change in Q. Quantity 2 minus quantity 1 at the bottom, and then at top it is the TR2 minus TR1. That is what we get when we are calculating the marginal revenue. And then furthermore, we also described the marginal revenue. We said this is the revenue that, or the income that is received from selling one extra unit. Marginal cost, the same way that we calculate marginal revenue. We said it is the extra cost, or the costs that are incurred from producing one extra unit. And then the formula there, we said it is the change in TC divided by the change in quantity. This is just a revision of what we've done in the previous lessons at grade 12. You can just go back to refresh. And remember, I said in economics, we are not provided with a formula sheet, unlike in other subjects. But as we also need to recall these formulas, we need to remember these formulas by head. But the only way to remember them is to practice them. As you remember, I said in the first lesson that write the formulas down in a blank piece of paper and paste it to a place that you usually visit most. Even in your classroom, at the back or at the notice board, these economics formulas need to be there. They will only be removed by the time we are writing our examination. Okay, so in this lesson, we will be discussing the difference between natural monopoly and artificial monopoly, the two types of monopolies that we mentioned. And then furthermore, we'll be showing an understanding of graphs in imperfect market structures with reference to oligopoly. So most of our lesson today will be based on this market structure that is called oligopoly. As the previous lesson, we focused on monopoly market structure. Then lastly, we're going to be focusing on examining the characteristics of oligopoly. So this one, economics learners, the characteristics of oligopoly, it is your possible essay for term 2, both June exam as well as your prelim exam. I repeat, when they say examine the characteristics of oligopoly in detail, it is your possible essay for term 2. Question 5, it's going to be there, June exam, or possibly question 6. Then in our prelim exam, it is possible for question 5. In our final exam, it is possible for question 5 as well. So it is very important then that as we are discussing, I will go through with this, with you slowly so that you fully understand the characteristics of oligopoly. So that when you are asked to write an essay about that, you just smile and say, I remember these characteristics. Okay. This is the starting point. It is very important for every lesson or every topic that you are going to start. Even if in class probably you just went to explanation of the concepts, but make sure that you on your own hide these terminologies. Remember, I said these terminologies are important for question 1.1, where you are given multiple choice questions. You need to choose one correct answer there. They are also important for 1.2 match column, where you will be given a description in column B and you'll be given a concept or a term in column A. So if you forgot to learn your terminologies, then you might not get those marks, right? Furthermore, I said they're important for 1.3, where we'll be saying provide an economic concept or a term for the following descriptions. And remember that acronyms, abbreviations, or examples in this case will not be accepted. So if you forgot to learn your terminologies, it will also going to be difficult for you then to pass this economics paper. If those who have learned it would have said it's easy, but you find it difficult. And we always say at least try to get 80% of the section A correct because it's a recall. These terminologies again are going to assist you economics learners. When you are doing your data response, I'm talking about question 2, question 3, question 4. The middle questions there where it says briefly describe the concept. So if you have not learned it, it means you're going to number it and leave it blank. And then you know what we do as teachers? Once you numbered that, we're just going to put a red cross there and say, but this learner, what's wrong with them? So it is very important for us to start with terminologies and learn these terminologies. The first one that we start with as a type of monopoly, it is artificial monopoly, of which we said the barriers to entry are not economic in nature. That is the key there. The barriers to entry are not economic in nature, but are caused by factors such as patent, copyright, licensing. That is where we started last week. If you remember this terminology, it appears again. Now we are adding another terminology now that is called natural monopoly. Natural monopoly is characterized by high development costs that prevent others from entering the market. So that is your starting point. For 4 marks, if we say to you, distinguish between natural monopoly and artificial monopoly, your 2 marks, you straightforward, you say the artificial monopoly barriers to entry are not economic in nature. Then on the other part of the table, natural monopoly, they are characterized by high development cost that prevents others from entering the market. Another terminology, it is the word patent. Then you're going to say this is a legal right of a holder to exclusively manufacture a product. It's still a barrier to entry. So you'll find that examples that I can provide here, you would have seen in the music industry when someone will say a person stole their lyrics or a person stole their song or something. And then if they go to court and they can prove that indeed they have patent rights for that particular song, they will win the case. But if ever they cannot prove that the song belonged to them, then in that way, they could have lost. However, even if you've got an idea somewhere where you are sitting grade 12 learners, then you tell me your idea that tomorrow you want to have an economics lesson where you just press and everything talks, but you don't implement or you don't start that idea or protect it. If I, as your teacher, then go and implement or go and start that particular project, that project, it is mine, as long as you don't have patent rights against it. So you need to protect it. You also need to have what we call exclusive rights for that particular product. That is why you also look at in the music industry, someone might own a song, but that song does not belong to them. They just acquired rights to release that particular song. So even in economics, we know that we deal with products that we need to sell. So those products, any idea that you are thinking of, grade 12 learners, that might generate a revenue or that might generate a profit, that idea must be protected against piracy or against being stolen. If you look at your textbooks now where you are sitting, at the back or in front, they are written that copyrights are reserved. because they are protected by those legal rights. So these are the terminologies that we're going to be looking at grade 12s going forward. Furthermore, we are looking at the concept itself now, that is called oligopoly. Then this concept is going to help us also when we start our essay. Introduction for the essay, it has to be the definition of that particular terminology. So if you can't remember what is an oligopoly, it means for a simple 2 marks in the introduction, you would have got the 2 marks wrong. So that is why it is very important for us to start. So we are saying here an oligopoly market, it is a market structure that is dominated. The keyword is there by a few large suppliers or by a few producers, each which has a control over the market. But what we are looking there for, the keyword there is the word few producers. Other textbooks, they will say few large firms. It is still the same. If you say an oligopoly market is a market structure that is dominated by a few large firms, of which each has some control over the market, then we're going to give you 2 marks for that. Remember, grade 12 learners, I'm saying the key word, it is the word few large producers. Then we're going to give you 2 marks for that. Why are we saying that? Remember, under perfect market, we said it is a market with many sellers. Under monopoly, we said it is the market structure that is dominated by one seller. And here now we also need to differentiate and say oligopoly, it is the market structure that is dominated by a few large sellers. Then your 2 marks are in the bag. Then there's another term now that you are learning. Probably you could have learned this in grade 11, but also if not, we are learning it in grade 12 now. The term, it is called duopoly. The term, it is called duopoly. I'll allow you to write that. This is the market structure that is dominated by only 2 firms. It is a market structure where there are only 2 firms that are operating. Example, Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Or you could say an Android. If it's not Android, it is an Apple. So that particular market structure, it is called duopoly. I'm sure in class there where you are sitting, you know that there are some learners that uses an Android phones and there are some learners that use an Apple phone. So because of that 2 markets, we call them duopoly. So in economics, when we say a market structure that is dominated by only 2 firms, then your answer that you're going to provide, it is duopoly. Or when we ask you to briefly describe the concept duopoly, then you're going to tell us that it is the market structure that is dominated by only 2 firms. Look at this, grade 12. It is different to that of an oligopoly. Oligopoly, it is few large firms. Duopoly, it is only 2 firms that are operating in that market. Examples I've provided, it is either Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Let's not confuse this with monopolistic competition, grade 12 learners. If you look at other flavors of drinks, such as your Sprite, such as your KP, they are all a product of Coca-Cola. Look at them, they are written there. So the main firm, it is Coca-Cola, but with differentiated products. When we will be discussing oligopolistic or a monopolistic market. But here, we know that Coca-Cola and Pepsi are the only 2 markets that dominate, the only 2 firms that dominate the market. Or in the phones, you would understand that it's either Android or Apple phone, duopoly. I always say it is exciting to learn these terminologies because we understand this subject of ours is the science. So we've got a certain language that we also speak so that we can make it easy for others to understand. Another term that is coming in now is the word market concentration, or you would say market share. Market concentration refers to the number of firms and the size of their market share. For example, 4 firms that have got concentration ratio of 80%, those would be saying they are what? They are highly concentrated. It means they dominate the market. Then that is why we are looking at that. So later on, we are going to ask you, how can a firm in an oligopolist increase its market share without using the prices? You will see that. So the word market share, talks to the number of firms and their market share. I'm saying that if it has got an 80% concentration, when we talk about this 80%, we are talking about the volume of sales for that particular firm. I'll make an example before I continue. If you look at car industries, there are many car industries, but there are those that form an oligopoly. If you look at VW for that matter, they've got large sales. If you look at Toyota, they've got large sales as compared to other competing car manufacturers that are very, very least in the chain. So we would say that cars such as VW, cars such as Toyota, your Mercedes, your Audi, and so on, they are highly concentrated. It means they take large of the market share. That is why even their pricing, it is very high because of the number of volumes or the number of sales that they are providing in that particular industry. So that is the term that we are also learning there. Okay, the last one for this slide, it is the demand curve. The demand curve for oligopolist, we know grade 12, it is kinked. We are going to discuss it when we continue. And it has got two parts or two segments, of which the higher part of that demand curve, we are saying it is relatively elastic. The lower part, we are saying it is relatively inelastic. Here's it, grade 12s. For 2 marks, when we ask you to briefly describe the demand curve of an oligopoly, you cannot say the demand curve of oligopoly is kinked and then you leave it there. We're going to allocate you 1 mark because it will be incomplete. What makes it to be kinked? Because it has got 2 parts, of which the higher part is relatively elastic, the lower part is relatively inelastic. I repeat slowly now. The demand curve of an oligopolist, it is kinked with 2 segments. If you forget the word segment, you can say with 2 parts, of which the upper part or the higher part, it is sensitive or it is elastic, while the lower part, it is relatively inelastic. That qualifies for 2 marks. But if you just say to me the demand curve of an oligopolist, it is kinked, you can only qualify for 1 mark. It will be incomplete. It's like now when we are discussing the nature of the product under monopoly. You can't just say the nature of the product is unique. That will only give you 1 mark. So you'll have to tell me that the nature of the product, it is unique with no close substitutes. Then that hold water, carries weight, gives you 2 marks. Hence, again, we are coming to the demand curve of oligopoly here. We are saying the demand curve of oligopoly, it is kinked with 2 parts. The upper part, it is relatively elastic. The lower part, it's relatively inelastic. I hope I made my point clear there, grade 12s. Okay. Furthermore, there is another term that we have mentioned when we did monopoly, but it's coming again. That concept, it is called price leadership. Here we are saying it is a situation where one firm fixes prices and in hoping that others will accept it as a market price. I'll make an example again when I talk about price leadership. In the network providers, I will just name a few that forms an oligopoly. You will know that we've got MTN, we've got Telkom, we've got Vodacom, and then we've got Cell C. Let's say between these 4 network providers, Vodacom, we know it as to be the dominant firm. We know it to be as a price leader. So if Vodacom would increase the price of WhatsApp data, others probably will also do the same, will also increase it so that, and they will accept it as a market price. Then if Vodacom increases the price of WhatsApp data, you'll see others also following, increasing the price of WhatsApp data. In that way, we are saying Vodacom is a price leader. However, we're going to be looking at the negative impact of increasing the price under oligopoly, and then we'll also be looking at the negative impact of decreasing the price under oligopoly. Another terminology, it is this one now that we say it is collusion. Then you'd say that is the arrangement between firms with that is the arrangement between firms with the aim of limiting competition between them by fixing the prices. So when they meet or when they collude, their aim there it is to limit competition. It means they become one. So they limit competition. And in that way, they fix prices. You'll understand that if there are more than two companies in a market, there are more than two firms in a market, they will compete for customers. Therefore, prices might change. But if there's only one firm in the market, they can increase the prices and decrease the prices as they wish. So other firms in this oligopoly, sometimes they might collude. And when they collude, they have an arrangement between them to limit competition. It means they are no longer becoming many or they are no longer becoming two, but they become only one firm. In that way, competition is eliminated, and they also fix prices thereof. We're going to be discussing collusion as well in detail. Another terminology now, it is the word cartel. I know that those of us who watch movies, especially the mafia movies, you usually hear of the word cartel many times. So it is very good to know that us as economics learners would have understood and we know the concept cartel. What does it mean? Here we are saying it is a group of producers whose goal is to form a collective monopoly. It means they become one in order to fix prices by limiting supply of that particular product and competition. So I'll allow you to write this. The two terms are too close to each other, grade 12 learners. The first one, we are saying, is an arrangement between businesses with an aim of limiting competition between them by fixing prices. A cartel, now we are looking at the group of producers whose goal is to form a collective monopoly. It means there are many businesses, but they become one in selling that particular product by fixing prices, limiting supply, as well as limiting competition. Then if we talk about such as cartel, we've got petrol stations that we are having here are different to each other, but they are different to each other. However, the price is the same. If you go to BP, the price of 1 liter is the same. If you go to Shell, the price of a liter of petrol, it is the same. Those are some of examples of cartels. Okay, and then we are looking at this once, but before we do this, I will allow you to write this slide where you're going to be copying the natural monopolies as well as the artificial monopoly. So we'll take 5 minutes where you're going to be copying this slide. Then we're going to discuss it after 5 minutes. Thank you so much, grade 12s. I hope you are listening where you are. All right, welcome back, grade 12s. I hope that we are done copying the two tables or the two monopolies. I'll start on the left hand side with natural monopoly so that I expand it even much further. Then I go to the right hand side where I'll be discussing the artificial monopoly now. So, the natural monopoly, these ones are classified by a high development cost. That is the main reason. The reason why we are saying they are natural monopoly, it is because of high development cost. E.g., we'll look at your electricity grid or the supply of electricity by the ESCOM. We are looking at that to say it is very expensive, very expensive to provide electricity. That is why now it is a natural monopoly. When we are talking about the supply of electricity, we are not talking about the amount of units that you are buying. Let's also clarify that. But we are looking at the electricity transmission lines, your transformers, your stations. You would realize that all those things cost 1 million. I'll make if you look at this, let's say a transformer in your area gets damaged, you will realize that it takes time to restore it or it takes time to replace it because it is very expensive. So we are not looking at the amount of electricity that you are purchasing because that goes with demand and supply. You can buy 10 units, you can buy 15 units according to your budget. However, when we say to supply electricity it is expensive, we are talking about the electricity transmission lines. The railway lines cost millions and millions, as well as the water dams to do them. They are very expensive. So those form a natural monopolies. And most of the time, this kind of monopolies are owned and controlled or regulated by the government. Therefore, that is why we are saying it is a natural monopoly. On the other side, artificial monopoly, you would have seen that when we were doing terminologies, we said barriers of entry are not economic in nature, such as examples of that it is patent, the protection of a unique invention so that no one else can manufacture it except the original inventor. So that is why we are saying that is artificial monopoly. Those barriers to entry are not economic in nature. I made an example with the music industry to say someone will say a person stole my lyrics or they stole my song and I have got proof that it belongs to me. I'm the one who wrote that. I'm the one who protected that. So that is artificial monopoly. And then also licenses as a way of granting permission for a service or a product. Radio or TV broadcasting rights are obtained from ICASA. As much as on the other side, ESCOM, for it to increase the price of electricity, they must apply to NERSA, this side. As this side, we've got ICASA, this side, we've got NERSA, the Energy Regulator of South Africa. So NERSA there stands for Energy Regulator of South Africa. On this side, ICASA, it is the one that is responsible for the broadcasting. Therefore, if I could also explain this one with a practical example, if you would see, let's say a soccer match is about to be televised, you will see that when you go to other stations, that soccer match it is televised. But when you go to other TV stations, the match is not televised. Why? Because they do not have broadcasting rights for that particular match. And therefore, those we are saying they are protected by that right. It is called artificial monopoly. So I hope we understand the difference between the two. In a short recap, natural monopoly, high development costs. It's very expensive to provide it. Example here, we talked about electricity, not the unit, but we are talking about the transmissions lines, the power stations, the transformers. The other one is the issue of dams, the purification, the pipes that transport water are expensive. They cost millions and millions. And then we also said they are regulated or mostly controlled by the government. On the other side, barriers to entry under artificial monopoly are not economic in nature. We are talking about things that we cannot see or things that we cannot touch, such as your patent that protect a unique idea or a unique invention from someone else other than the original inventor. I made an example with licenses, broadcasting rights. A certain television, TV station or a certain radio station have to apply or have to buy those broadcasting rights. They cannot just televise or broadcast something as they wish. That is the natural monopoly, grade 12. Okay. Last week or in our previous session, we ended here, but I know that because we're towards the end of the session, may I also allocate you, colleagues, you can also assist on the floor. We are allocating each other 5 minutes again here. Now we are writing the activity. That one, the 5 minutes before, we were writing the difference between natural monopoly and artificial monopoly. I'm going to allow you 5 minutes to write. Remember, first things first, you are going to have to analyze the graph. Look at the graph first, analyze it before you can even attempt to answer the questions. Okay, and your 5 minutes, grade 12, start now. All right, great. Charles, I've been keeping time, and I hope colleagues on the floor, you are also keeping time. Um, why are we also timing that? It's because we want you as grade 12 learners to keep time so that you finish the economics paper. If it's allocated 2 hours, we're going to ensure that we finish in 2 hours or before the 2 hours. So our 5 minutes is over. But before I can even look at the questions, I'm just going to show you how to analyze the graph first. I know that colleagues, you have assisted the candidates or the learners on the floor. So we realize that this is a monopoly. Then as I'm analyzing, I'm starting to think about all the characteristics of a monopoly. I'm looking at this first SMC there. I can see that it is the short run marginal cost, and this one down there SATC, it is the short run average total cost. That's how it stands. Then I know the criteria. First, I must also look at this SAT. Is it the lowest turning point of that SAT where the profit is maximized? And we know that the profit is maximized at the point where MR is equals to MC. That's the first condition. I repeat, the profit, it is maximized at the point where MR is equals to MC. Then from there, I know that I'm going to be using anything that is on that particular line. Going up, going down, I know that I'm going to be using that. So when I'm there, I can see that when I go up, the line that goes straight up touches the SATC at 30. That is my starting point. It touches there at 30. So I know that my AC in this case, or my total cost, it is 30. Then on the other side, when I go up further, I can see that the AR, it is touched at 60. So when it's touched at 60, then I know that that is my AR. Then I am going to use the quantity of 50 there. Then I'm done analyzing this particular graph before we can even attempt to answer the questions. Now let's go to the questions now. Question 1. I know that in class now we'll be clapping. You must be having a pencil now. You must be having a red pen. That pencil you're going to be marking, or you're going to be doing corrections where you would have got some of the answers wrong. But my wish, and every one of us as colleagues on the floor, is that you should get 10 out of 10 for this data response. The first one says, what is the selling price of the monopolist? The answer there is 60. So if you wrote 60, give yourself 1 mark. The second question says, identify the quantity at which the firm maximizes the profit. You identify the quantity at which the firm maximizes profit. And your answer there is, it is at quantity 50, not 60 grade 12s. It is at quantity 50. Then if you would have done that, you get 1 mark. So out of 10, 20% is in. So we are happy, then we smile. Then number 3 says, why will the monopoly always make economic profit in the long run? You can start by saying it is the only firm, therefore they are able to manipulate the prices as they wish. Or you can say there's only one firm in that particular market, and that firm is an industry itself, and they're able to control prices. So we are saying there, it is possible to manipulate prices so that they can show economic profit. Why? Because there are no competitors. There's only one firm, and therefore it can maximize the profit. If you said because there's only one firm, that qualifies you 1 mark. I repeat, if you said because monopoly is only one firm, that qualifies you 1 mark. Grade 12, where you see the question, why will something, or explain something, that should always be explained in a full sentence so that you can qualify for full 2 marks. Remember here, we need all those marks. And it is possible to get 150 out of 150 in an economics paper. We need all those distinctions, grade 12s. So we must understand the question, do as it is required. Another option, it is it can deliberately reduce production, or there's a decline in production, and that is less than the market demand, and therefore higher prices are charged. So if there's more demand for that particular product, we can charge higher prices. You remember the law of demand. As the demand increases, the prices for that particular product also increases. Why? Because there's only one firm in that market structure. The last one, you could say they sell a unique product without any competition. Or you say the monopoly will always make economic profit because they sell a unique product with no close substitutes. Now we are saying here, when we are saying we are accepting any other correct relevant answer, I said to you, if you said to me that it is only one firm in the market, 1 mark, we can give you that, we can accept it, but you only qualify for 1 mark. So every time you are asked a question that requires you to talk more, make sure that you write full sentences that make sense, then you can qualify for 2 marks. So these are the possible points that you can pick when you explain to say why will a monopoly make economic profit in the long run. Let's look at question 4 or number 4. This one is straightforward, grade 12. So we've done this one when we're doing the terminologies, or when we're doing the difference between natural monopoly and an artificial monopoly. It asks you here to say, what are the requirements for a monopoly to be classified as artificial monopoly? Remember the table that we've done? This side we're talking about natural monopoly. On the other side, we're talking about artificial monopoly. So this one is a straightforward one. You will say that entry, it is restricted by factors such as legal requirement, licensing, patents, or copyrights. Then you could also say that it is because barriers to entry are not economic in nature. You remember the one that we started with? Then that one also qualifies you for 2 marks. Then you are done here. Okay. I'm more interested on this one. I'm more interested on this one. I wish we would be able to demonstrate and show how we would have calculated the profit for this monopolist. Colleagues on the floor, and we always check to say, did the learners write the formula? It is very, very important for us to write the formula. Without a formula, you know that you're going to lose some of the marks. So let's see if we got the correct answer there. And after that, we are all going to be celebrating in class there. I want to see you celebrating because you got your 4 marks. If I don't you celebrating, then I know that you could have got it wrong. So this is how you started option number 1. The total profit or loss, it is calculated as following: total revenue minus the total costs. Then you're going to say this side, it is the P. Okay, I'll write it this side where you said P multiplied by Q. That is the first one. And then minus this side C multiplied by Q. So that is the formula that we are going to be writing. So the first one gives us TR. The second one gives us TC. The P stands for the price, which is 60 Rand, multiplied by the quantity of 50 Rand, minus the cost. In this case, the cost is 30 Rand multiplied by the quantity of 50 Rand. You get a mark there. I know some of you are starting to collect those marks. Secondly, then you press your calculator. Now it is very important, grade 12s. You know, there are calculators that we say they are so clever or they are so sharp, but they are not sharp at all. And the other thing is that those calculators are going to apply BODMAS. So if you punch everything in the calculator, your final answer might be wrong because of the BODMAS rule. So first, solve every component before you can get your final answer. I repeat, don't punch the whole thing in a calculator. Don't say 60 multiplied by 50 minus 30 multiplied by 50. You might get a wrong answer. So first you solve the first bracket, which is 60 multiplied by 50. It gives us 3,000. Minus the cost of 30 multiplied by 50, it gives us 1,500. Then again, you can punch now and say 3,000 minus 1,500. The answer there is 1,500. I know you are clapping there now. I know we are celebrating. Yes, 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 yes. Our 4 marks are in. We are celebrating. Okay. For those who did not get it right, this is how we do it. I know that next time you'll also get it right. Hence, we are attending these sessions that are brought to you by Pagama, and hence we are practicing so that we can be ready for the exam. I know definitely that in the next time you are practicing, you will get it right. So it's not over yet. Or option number 2, the total profit, it is the unit profit multiplied by the quantity. What do I mean by that? When I say the unit profit multiplied by the quantity, you will say AR, I'm putting this in bracket, AR minus AC multiplied by the Q. I think this one is straightforward. We can just go with the option number 2. AR minus AC in bracket multiplied by the quantity. So your AR in this instance, it is 60 as shown by the demand curve, minus your AC, which is the SACT graph curve there, which is 30. Then for that, you'll get a mark. Multiply by the quantity outside, you'll also get a mark there. Then step number 3, it's not shown here. You'll say 60 minus 30 will give you 30, and then you multiply by that 50 there. Then you'll get 1,500. Remember, I said first you're gonna solve what is inside the bracket before you can multiply. Then you get your 1,500. That is option number 2. I know that we got this one right. Then we are celebrating. So I don't know, colleagues, if you can see by show of hands how many of us got it correct. We can just raise up our hands and say, now this one is in the back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those who have got it correct. I still repeat, for those who got it wrong, at least we would have learned now that we look at the point where we are maximizing profit. Those are the units that we're going to be working with and not anything else. Okay, so here is what the rules that we say. A maximum of 2 marks if only the correct answer is given without showing the workings. And if the formula is given, a mark can be awarded if calculations are correct. Then you get your 4 marks. So don't just punch everything in the calculator and get your final mark. You might lose some of those marks. Okay. Now the business of the day, we are here. We are looking at this concept that is called oligopoly. There are 3 things that we are going to be looking at, grade 12s. The first one, we are going to be looking at a situation where the oligopoly keeps the prices stable and they use stable through the King's demand curve, and the firm concentrate on non-price competition to increase its market share. That's the first condition. Number 2, we are going to look at a situation where there's oligopolists compete and how it leads to price wars. Number 3, we are going to be looking at collusion. How does that lead to higher prices? As you remember the definition that we have done when we started, we said collusion is when 2 or more firms meet and in order to limit competition between them by fixing the prices. So these are the 3 things that we are going to be looking at. Number 1, stable prices, King's demand curve, non-price competition. Number 2, it's price wars, competitive oligopoly. Number 3, collusion, which will lead to higher prices, and that will affect you and I as the end users or as the consumers of that particular product. Okay, we're going to be looking at the King's demand curve. I'll just put everything on there. Okay, we're going to be looking at the King's demand curve and ensure that you would have drawn it this way, you would have labeled it. Hence, we said when we started that we need that ruler, we need that pencil. Just draw it and then make sure that on your x-axis you would have labeled that quantity. Then on your y-axis you would have labeled the issue of cost and revenue there. Look at the slope of the demand curve, the upper part, and the other part of the demand curve, which is the down part. If you look at the labeling, it is still the same as that one of the previous market structures. D is equals to AR there. Okay, so now if I go back this side, we are saying the reaction of the rivals to the prices change or to the price change depends on whether the price is increased or decreased, whether the price is raised or the price is lowered. The elasticity of the demand will also be different. Okay, so now let's look at the graph. We are saying the first part, the price that is charged by this oligopoly, it is 15 rand, of which the quantity demanded is 20. I repeat, the price that is charged by this oligopoly is 15 rand and the quantity demanded is 20. Where at the king, at this point here, at the king demand curve. So the primary goal of each and every business, we know that it is to maximize revenue. And if we ask you, option number one for this oligopoly, if they want to make more sales or they want to increase their profits, they might try option number one, which is to increase the prices. So if you look at on this graph, the price is increased from 15 rand to 20 rand. So there's a difference of 5 rand there. The price is increased from 15 rand to 20 rand. I want you to look at the change in the quantity. Look at the gap. Look at the gap between the price and between the quantities there. When we increase the price by just 5 rand, look at what happens to the quantity. The quantity decreases by a massive 10 units. First, you are still analyzing the graph. You are not even yet have answered the questions. You are still analyzing the graph. So we are realizing that when we increase the price, quantity demanded decrease. So option number one is not working for us. We can now try option number two, which is to decrease the price. Okay. So we reduce the price by a massive 10 rand. That means initially it was 15 rand. Now we are selling this particular unit at 5 rand. So we reduced it by 10 rand. We are selling it at 5 rand. We reduced by 10 rand. In reality, we know that when the price of a product decreases, what happens to the demand returns? The demand increases massively so because it is cheaper now to buy. Initially, when I had 15 rand, I used to be able to buy at 20. But now I'm buying this at 5 rand. I'm able to buy 3 times more. That is the expectation. But look at in this graph. Look at the difference there. The quantity demanded does not increase much. We reduced by a huge amount of money, which is 10 rand, to a point where we are selling this product for 5 rand. And then we expect the quantity also to increase so that we can have more sales that we are doing. But because of here, we are seeing only an increase in quantity. Yes, it is there, but it is so little. It is only increasing by 5 rand. So to someone who does not do economics, will ask you, why is this case? Why is it that when I increase the prices by just 5 rand, quantity demanded decrease massively. But when I decrease the price by a huge amount of money, which is 10 rand, quantity demanded increases by a small margin. Now you're going to analyze here. First things first, we're going to be looking at the king, which is the current price. Then we are going to be focusing on the total revenue that is generated. Then also we're going to be discussing the two parts. Remember when I started, I said to you, oligopoly, it is a market structure with a few large firms. Then we went to the demand curve. We said the demand curve of an oligopoly, it is kinged, like the way you are seeing it here. It has got two parts, of which we said the upper part, it is sensitive or it is relative to price change. And then the lower part, this one, it is insensitive or it is relatively inelastic. Okay, I repeat, the king at this point, it is the current market price that we are selling. It is 15 rand. If we attempt to increase the price, which is it's going to be up, now we are looking at the upper part of the oligopoly, then it is the upper segment, it is relatively elastic. What does that mean? The quantity demanded, it is sensitive to price change. Hence, you see the gap. Just a small movement of price change, the quantity demanded decrease. I will make an example. Let me again talk to the issue of network providers. Let's say you are using MTN, and then there's also a competitor on the other side, which is Vodacom. If the price of airtime that is currently at 15 rand, we all know that. If MTN by chance will try to increase the same price of airtime to 20 rand, and we realize that airtime across MTN network increases, it is becoming expensive. Let me tell you something. Immediately we are going to port our SIM card. We are going to change immediately and go to the one that is cheaper. That is why we are saying we are sensitive to price change. You are just going to move. Again, I'm going to do an example with the banking industry. It's another example of oligopoly. Let's say I'm banking with Bank X and Bank Y is the same one. And then I realize that bank charges for Bank X increases drastically. The following day, I'm going to go and close off that account and go to Bank Y. Hence, we are saying price change under oligopolist, we are very sensitive to that. So we're not going to attempt the issue of price increase here. On the other side, look at the reduction. Sometimes we would have developed loyalty to Bank X to say, but I'm affording the 15 rand. I didn't have a problem with the 15 rand. And I don't want to change because of the benefits that I'm getting from Bank X. And then Bank Y reduces the prices to 5 rand. Only a few of those who want to benefit, they can switch. But now we'll say, as long as I'm still fine with that, I'm not going to move. Hence, you see such a small change in the lower part. We are staying there. It is relatively inelastic. It is insensitive to price change. As long as it does not affect me in terms of my pocket, as long as I'm still affording, I might not change. Only a few of us maybe, or the new clients that are starting to open their bank account, they will look at the one that is cheaper in terms of bank charges, then they move to that. But look at that, the quantity demanded increases by a small margin. So that is how you explain the two parts: the price change when it increases and the price change when it decreases. Look at the heading at the top. It says, use the graph below to advise the oligopoly on how to increase its market share. So how can the oligopolies now have more sales but without increasing the price? With the previous slide, we realized that we cannot play with the price. We are leaving the price at 15 rand at the moment. But let's also look at that in terms of calculations. Remember, we said you're going to get 4 marks for drawing the graph. We're going to be looking at, did you label your X and your Y axis? If yes, you're going to get 1 mark. Did you label on the X and the Y axis, you're going to get 1 mark. Then did you label the demand curve? Yes, 1 mark. Did you draw the correct shape? Yes, 1 mark. So in a graph, you can get a maximum of 4 marks. I repeat, in a graph, you can get a maximum of 4 marks. So let's draw this graph, then grade 12, the way it is, use the values that we are having here. Then we are going to be explaining. At the current price, if you remember that, to say at the king's year, it is our current price. The firm makes a total revenue of 300. Those are the calculations. That's the working. Because you said P multiplied by Q, you said 15 multiplied by 20 at the current price. To increase the market share, option number 1 might be attempting to increase the price. Suppose the price increased by 5 rand from 15 to 20. You remember in the previous slide, I was explaining using the elasticity and the elasticity in terms of the sensitive and insensitive. This time now we are explaining using calculations. If we increase the price by 5 rand from 15 to 20 rand, look at what happens to total revenue, grade 12s. The total revenue decreases, of which we are saying P multiplied by Q, which is 20 multiplied by 10. We are losing the total revenue. Already the firm, if it increases the price, it loses 100 rand in its revenue. Okay, so option number 1 is not working. Option number 2 will be to reduce the price now. There is it. The price is reduced from 15 rand to 5 rand. We are happy that the quantity demanded increased by 5 units. But let's look at our revenue now. Suppose the firm decreases the price from by 10 rand from 15 to 5 rand. Look at what happens to total revenue, grade 12. We have lost 175. Yo. So now the oligopolist is worried. I want to increase my market share, but now I cannot tamper with the price. When I leave the price at 15 rand, I'm generating a total revenue of 300. But when I increase the price to 20 rand, I'm losing total revenue by 100. And also when I decrease the price, I'm losing the total revenue by 175. I'm sitting at 125. So what should I do now? Okay. The interpretation, we have done that. We have explained that an increase in price, the revenue decreased by 100. A decrease in price, the revenue decreased by 175. So it did not help us. So now you need to do what? To advise. Hence we said when we started, use the graph below, advise the oligopolist on how to increase its market share. Then you also say, do the calculations. Any calculations there might score you maybe 2 marks. And the interpretation also might score you 2 marks there or 4 marks, depending on the examiner or the mark allocation. But you have not answered the question. You are still interpreting the graph. Then the advice is, 1, the firm should keep the prices stable at the current price of how much? Of 15 rand. That's point number 1. That gives you 2 marks. Okay? But I still want to increase my market share. Then you say the firm should use non-price competition to increase the market share. That's another 2 marks. So if this was 8 marks, you would have got your 8 marks there. 2, 4, 6, 8. Or even more than 8 marks, depending on your calculations as well as your working. So you would have told the firm, first thing first, you would have analyzed what is happening on the graph, explain it, paint a picture to us. Now we can see the picture. Then the interpretation is there. A price increase, 100 rand loss in terms of revenue. A price decrease, 175 loss in terms of revenue. Advice, Let the monopolist, oligopolist, not change the price, leave it at 15 rand, but use non-price competition. I'll tell you something. The price of airtime, it is 15 rand, it is 10 rand, it is 5 rand across. Not hear me, Great 12s. I know that sometimes we buy at spaza shops around the corner. They will tell you that they are charging transport because they are not making profit. But go to bigger outlets. If you want 15 rand airtime, they will give it to you at 15 rand. It has not changed. They will never say we are adding 1 rand, we are adding 2 rand. It remains the same. The price of liter per petrol, they will never say because we've got many cars that are putting petrol here, we are going to increase the price of liter per petrol. They will leave it at 15 rand. But for them to attract more cars to come to their petrol station, they will use what we call non-price competition. In that way, they would have increased their market share. You know, when you're watching videos, you'll watch petrol attendants that are dancing, that are very friendly. That is another form of what? Of non-price competition. More cars will go there because they want to see these friendly petrol attendants. It's a non-price competition. The price remains the same, 15 rand. But we are still going there. Why? Because of the non-price, the competition that we are seeing, but it's the non-price competition. Okay. Let's look at the price wars and collusion. The firms in this market, they are so few but large, and we've got minimal competition because each firm influences the other in terms of the price. It includes decision made by concentrated market. You remember the concentrated market we said are those that have got a market share of 80%. So there we are looking at things such as the product price or the price of the product, the quality standard, as well as the production plan. So those are the things that oligopolist looks at. The issue of interdependence, Grade 12. Don't worry about this. Let's explain it on the other slides. So we are saying here interdependence. Companies will be affected by other firms in terms of how to set their prices as well as output. You realize that prices should be always set at the king, and we use other methods such as the non-price competition. So out of this interdependence, the few large firms, two possibilities there that will come out. Option number one is either these firms are going to collude or they are going to form a monopoly or collusion. You remember that collusion, we said they are there, they collude in order to limit what? Competition. Or option number two, these firms are going to try to stand on their own and compete. To say we want cars to come into our petrol station, we are going to be competing with this other petrol station. As a network provider, we want more people to use our network. We are going to be competing with the other ones if they are not colluding. So let's explain each concept independently. Grade 12. Interdependence, we are going to be looking at. First option is that the firms are going to collude in order to form a what? A monopoly by limiting competition. And then if they collude, collusions take two forms. The first type of collusion, it is the one that we call tacit collusion or implicit collusion. Alternatively, the other type of collusion, it is the one that is called overt collusion or explicit collusion. I know you are drawing this, but I'll explain, then I'll leave the slide so that we can draw. Then, the one that is tacit, it's implicit. It happens in a secret manner or in a secret way. It cannot be seen publicly so. So it is in a situation where we look at the issue of price leadership. So in a way, the leading company or the dominant firm here will look at the market signal. They will increase the price without informing the others. And the others will also follow suit, try to increase their what? Their prices, because it is called this other firm is a price leader. That kind of collusion, It also affects us as customers because now when prices increases, it means it's going to be expensive for us to buy goods and services. But what caused this price to increase? It's a dominant firm that increased the price because of it carries something that is called price leadership. It is still a collusion, but that collusion, we said, it is not detected, it is not formal, it is informal, it is tacit or implicit. Option number two, it is the one that we say it's an overt collusion. It is an explicit collusion. This one, it is where companies form a cartel. This is a formal collusive agreement. I've made an example with the OPEC countries there. So these OPEC countries are the ones that are the petroleum countries. There are many countries that supply petrol, but because they formed an open oligopoly or an open monopoly, now we see the price of petrol coming to us, South Africa, being the same across all the other firms. That is because these firms have formed uh, a cartel, and it happens openly so, or it happens formally so. So keywords, if they ask you a type of collusion that happens informally or that cannot be detected, your answer is tacit collusion. A type of collusion, number two, a type of collusion that happens formally or openly. The answer there is overt collusion. Okay, all right. Then the next one, option number two now. Okay, we are here. If I summarize this, we said there are two options. The firm will either collude or compete. Collusion will take two forms, tacit collusion or overt collusion. Under tacit collusion, that is associated with price leadership. Under overt collusion, that is associated with a cartel. In our next slide, option number two, those firms will now compete. So competition benefits us as consumers. Why? Because we get the best possible price, the best quantity, and also quality of that particular product. Because when we are competing, the prices might reduce, we benefit as consumers. When we are competing, someone will say, my product, it is the best quality as compared to the other product. And we like this competition because benefits us as consumers. We don't like collusion. Collusion is illegal because it fixes prices, it makes prices of goods and services to be expensive. So firms should do what? Should compete. But there are possibilities here. If they compete using prices, that will lead to something that is called what? Price wars. You remember when we were explaining on the other side, there will be price reduction, there will be price increase, there will be price reduction, there will be price increase. And when they reduce the price, that leads to price wars. We benefit as consumers because we'll get these goods and services cheaper at good quality and more quantity of those goods and services. And therefore, creators, oligopolists will never use prices to compete. You saw when we're using the prices to compete, when we're increasing our price from 15 rand to 20 rand, we lost revenue. When we reduced our price from 15 rand to 5 rand, we lost revenue. And then you advise the oligopolists to say, do not compete using what? Prices, but rather use what? What did you say? They should use non-price competition to compete. They should use those non-price competition to compete. All right. I'll just do this non-price competition and then we'll end there for today's session. So oligopolists will avoid using prices to compete, and because if the firms lower their prices, this will result in lower in price wars and lower profits for everyone. Rather, they will also use product development, new products that will be introduced with features and various quality, so that they can attract what? They can attract customers. You look at the network providers, they will bring WhatsApp data in, and petrol stations will bring other methods so that we can also be what attracted in that way. Advertising also, firms spend a large amounts to establish brand loyalty and attract what new customers through the media, through special offers, publicity stunts, as well as what, as well as discounts. So those are the forms of non-price competition that firm use. So I'd like you to take the keywords. The first one is product development. The second one is advertising. If you take the keywords there. Another one that we are looking at, it is the issue of loyalty schemes. Customers get to sign up to loyalty schemes. You know, sometimes when you look at your wallet, it has got so many cards from different shops. They even ask you to say, have you got a loyalty reward card? Someone might even be thinking that you've got money because your wallet, as you are sitting there, grade 12 learner, it will be so big with so many cards that when you get to this particular shop, before you can pay, you produce a loyalty card. So that is how this company is non-price competition. Then I will also say this. For example, if in my wallet I've got a loyalty card for this particular petrol station, I can pass 5 petrol stations, just go to the one that I will get points, because I know later on those points will assist me. The price is still the same. The price, a liter for petrol is 15 rand from all these other garages, but I will pass 5 garages to get to the one that I will use my loyalty reward card. The reason why I pass the other garages is because I don't have loyalty reward card for that. It's a non-price competition measure. Another one is branding. If you look at shops now, they change the way their goods and services look like. You look at the issues of headsets. You look at the issue of cold drinks. They will even be having your name there. And then you say, I want to buy this brand because it has got my name on that. It's a non-price competition measure. So I'm giving you those key points there. Loyalty, rewards, branding is another measure. When we, in conclusion now, other forms of non-price competition include free deliveries and free installation. So you'll choose shops, go to the other one because you'll get free delivery and free installation. Extend the warranties for consumers and credit facilities. We usually know that something lasts 12 months, but you'll hear when you go to a company, they will say this one lasts for 24 months. And if it's not fixed in if it's damaged in 7 days, bring it to us, we'll give you a new one. It's a non-price competition measure, that one. Keep your sleep. If you can go now in your wardrobe or in a closet, check the number of slips and cards that you are keeping there, because you are still banking on the warranty that is extended by this shop. It's a non-price competition measure. Trading hours are extended. They are now longer. If you look at this banking that I know, I'm not worried when I live here, this class, because I know that they will still be open. Hence, if you go to other banks at 3 o'clock, they are closed. But this other one, you know that even at 5 o'clock when you get there, you still find them open. So that shops in the malls, they open for longer hours. That is a non-price competition measure. Door-to-door deliveries will bring it to you, don't worry, free of charge. They've actually attracted you. Extensive after sales services on the internet. We now buy on the internet. I am not worried when I live here, because I know that if I need a pair of headsets, I'll go to the internet, I'll just purchase the following day or in 5 days, they will be delivered to me. It's a non-price measure. Expand into new markets by diversifying the product range. All right, click trolls. So we are saying here, other forms of non-price competition. In short, free deliveries, extending warranties, longer trading hours, door-to-door, the sales that we are doing, and we are bringing other methods. If you look at it, even bigger shops have also partnered with petrol stations. If I need to go for restaurant, I'll be going somewhere, and then I know that everything is good. So that is how you advise the oligopoly grade 12s. And then that is our lesson for the day. Thank you so much. And please remember to study. Join us next time when we'll now be talking as we are still preparing for our examination. Thank you so much. Have a blessed